My name is Sterling Scott, the founder and owner of Trust Public Adjusting Group, founded here in Florida, and we help the public get indemnified when filing insurance claims. That means that when you file an insurance claim and the insurance companies don't pay out what is appropriate for the policy, then we're your advocate to get that done. Well, right then and there, typically if you're going to do a denial, we can help avoid the denial process in general, just if you get us involved right off rip. But if you do get a denial, unfortunately, we overturn about 90% of those denials. So we step in, we try to understand the position of the insurance company, why they did what they did, and how we could possibly rebuttal it to get it overturned. And again, we're about 9 out of 10 denials we overturn. To prepare for a hurricane, the best thing you can do is get a pre-hurricane or pre-storm inspection and policy review. And we do those for free. So the reason why that's so valuable is what we see a lot in the field when people file claims without us is the insurance company's initial reaction is to say that, hey, this is pre-existing, this was already there, and you don't really have any proof to say whether it was or wasn't there. And they hang their hat on that a lot of the times. So with having a free pre-storm inspection, which we offer, we now have documentation of what it was like before the storm was there, which is undisputably important, and the insurance companies can't dispute it. It's like, here's our Matterport, which is a high technological camera that we use to measure the whole house, and it recreates it digitally, and it's a high definition scanning device. Plus, we also put high definition pictures of the key areas that we know tend to be denied or problematic for what was there or what wasn't there. Problematic areas for the insurance companies are windows. Windows are incredibly hard to get paid and covered. We ended up getting them covered, but especially if we have a pre-storm inspection, because now we can show the fact that these corners weren't wet, now they are wet, or there's staining on the sill, which they weren't there before. So now the insurance company can't say, well, these windows were leaking prior, and that's typically what they hang their hat on. So windows are huge, sliding glass doors are huge, staining on ceilings, the condition of the roof, all these things. So when you get on the roof and you do a test square, which is what we would do, and we have drone footage, we have high definition footage, we have pictures of the windows. These are key elements, because if you have to pull windows out, a lot of the times you have to pull the siding. And that's why it's so hard for us to get the insurance companies to bite on windows, because there's lots of consequential damages. Yes, a free inspection includes the drone. Most of the time it's a better situation to have boots on the ground or boots on the roof because it's a closer inspection, and that's more important than drone. But yes, we do offer drone footage as well. No, the insurance company has, let me see here, how many days? The insurance company has 60 days to establish coverage or deny the claim. So after that, you have a year to dispute it. Right? So you can have a denial, you can be sitting on the denial and you're thinking, oh, I'm SOL, I can't do anything about it. But when you call us, we'll again look through the paperwork, look through the documents, go through our inspections, and 9 out of 10 times we can overturn it. So no, you're not out of luck if you get a denial. If you get an under deductible, which a lot of people think an under deductible is a denial. But that's not true. An under deductible still means that they've established coverage. It just didn't surpass the amount of your deductible, which is very important, because what you do to a denial versus what you do to a under deductible strategically are very different things. So a lot of the times we call people up, or people call us like, oh, it's a denial. It's like, okay, so we're gearing up for denial. But in actuality, when we look at the documents, it's like, oh, okay, this is an under deductible, so we can move this way with it. So it's just a little piece of information. I know a lot of people think that, oh, I didn't get any money, so it's a denial. But in fact, it's not a denial. It's just it's an under deductible payment, which means they've acknowledged, they meaning the insurance company, have acknowledged the fact that there's a covered peril and they owe you money. So whereas the denial is, hey, this is all wear and tear, or this is not covered, or I'm going to use your policy to make sure that this doesn't get paid. When you hire Trust Public Adjusting Group, especially right off rip, we walk you through the entire process. We can even file the claim for you. And that's important because sometimes people may use the wrong description of the loss. So if you use the wrong description of the loss, then the insurance company can use that as a way to deny the claim. So, for instance, the best way to explain that is, oh, my house flooded. Well, really, you had a broken pipe. And so now if you call the carrier, like, oh, my house flooded, they're going to now put it in a flood category. And a flood category, you have to have a separate policy for flood. So now they're saying, oh, flood, denial. And I know that's a blatantly obvious example, but it's happened. I've literally had a client call up the insurance company, say, my house flooded, and it was a broken pipe. But because the client, submitted the claim as a flood, they said, hey, we don't do flood. And so we had to come in and change that. But there's a lot more intricacies than something so blatant as that, right? A leaky pipe versus a broken pipe. A leaky pipe can be denied because it insinuates continuous and ongoing, versus a broken pipe happens sudden and accidental. So the broken pipe, without question, is covered, whereas a leaky pipe is a little bit trickier to get covered. So, that's more intricate, but there's tons of examples like that. So you want to get us involved just to file the claim and to file it appropriately, and to make sure you're using the right verbiage, and to make sure that you're scheduling the experts to be there in the timely manner, because the insurance companies are obligated to do their first inspection in a certain amount of time. And if they don't do that, we will notate that and document that. So, so many people want to say, hey, I'm just going to file the claim on my own, see what they do, and then hire a public adjuster on the back end. Well, in the examples I just mentioned, even filing the claim can set you back months or weeks, because with the 60 days of establishing or denying a claim, and you give the wrong peril, they can still use the 60 days to send you a letter knowing that what they're going to send you the day you claimed it. So you call up the insurance company, you're like, hey, I got a flood, but it's a broken pipe. Well, they know that they're going to deny it, but they'll wait to the 60th day to send you the denial. And so now you're 2 months behind, and then you call up Trust Public Adjusting Group, and you're like, hey, I need your help. But if you hired us on the front end, we would have made sure that all of the right verbiage was said, the way you file the claim, the documents, who's going to come out there and look at the property. When you get a public adjuster involved off rip, they tend to escalate it into a more professional department of the insurance company. So you're dealing with seasoned adjusters, not new adjusters that are fresh out of school. So just in general, it's a better safeguard. You have a better chance of getting money faster, and you have a better chance of getting an increased amount of money right off rip, which would justify our fee. And again, we don't get paid till you do. The biggest problem I find about what's happening in the insurance industry is people not filing the claims, right? So they think they might have damage, or they're not sure if it's claim worthy. So they'll kind of sit on it, mainly because they're worried about the insurance company, if the rates are going to go up or if they're going to get dropped. First, I need to say, and I'm trying to really drive this home, if you file a claim, they can't drop you. They have to wait to the non-renewal period. But even then, they have to come up with a reason besides filing a claim to drop you. And then the premiums are set in a geographical area. So the public has to be aware that filing a claim isn't going to get you dropped, and it's not going to increase your premiums. I mean, there are certain circumstances, like if you file multiple claims in one policy period. But if you're filing one claim, whether it's a busted pipe or a mold claim, or whatever it may be, there's 100 different claims you can file. They're not going to increase your premiums, and they're not going to drop you. I think there's a couple reasons why the public is under this perception. One is the premiums are going up anyways, and a lot of people file claims after the hurricanes. So they're tying the two things together. If I file a claim, my policy is going to go up. But it's like, how much does your policy have to go up to justify not getting tens of thousands of dollars from your insurance company? So the other caveat is, oh, these people maybe didn't get a public adjuster or maybe didn't get an attorney involved. So they're like, I don't want to file a claim to have my premiums go up and simultaneously not get the money. You know what I mean? So when you hire Trust Public Adjusting Group, our average increase is 7 to 10 times as much as the insurance company offers you. So that's first and foremost. But secondarily, you're paying for this, and you shouldn't be scared to use a service that you're paying for. But even more so, it's like even more so like if you wait to file the claim, it makes it harder to get it paid. So you might as well call us out even before you call the insurance company. So, hey, I don't know if this is claim worthy. I don't know where the damage came from. Can you please help me decipher? And then we can make that determination for you. Instead of being scared or worried about your premiums or your, being dropped or whatever it may be, you have to take advantage of the fact that you have insurance. And the longer you wait to file the claim, the harder it is to get paid. And it could make your house worse because you don't know what could be behind the walls. So anyways, I really want to drive that home. The amount of people that are not filing claims that used to file claims has increased. And they're doing it under false pretenses, and they're actually making it harder for their insurance companies to pay them. Yeah, okay. I think that the data loss is important, especially when it comes to whether the homeowner, the property owner, obviously commercial, residential, so property owner, if the property owner files the claim without us, Trust Public Adjusting Group, or without a professional to guide them through the initial stages of filing the claim, then it leaves it open for the insurance company to pick a data loss. And I've literally just went through this, I think just last week, where the client filed the claim and then the insurance company picked a data loss that was outside of the policy period. So it's like, they arbitrarily picked the date that was convenient for them so that they wouldn't have to pay for it. And so obviously it was a denial, and they called us and we were like, well, wait a minute, there's multiple dates that could have been used in the policy period. Why did you choose that date when the homeowner filed it on this date? So when it comes back to why you should hire a public adjuster to begin with, not only from the verbiage standpoint, but also the data loss standpoint, which is huge. Because then they're going to say, oh, it happened not in our policy period, but that policy period. And they're going to give you the runaround to try to find, was it the same insurance company, different insurance company? And you might lose months just on trying to figure out what data loss and what policy it was. So, I think that was actually a very valid point for you to bring that up, because it's like, the date of losses are incredibly important, because even if they were to pick a date of loss that's inside the policy period, and let's say you're filing a wind claim, but that date of loss that they choose, like let's say they choose to use the date that you called it in, which is called the date of discovery, which is different than the date of loss. So the date of discovery, when you called it in, there's no wind. So they'll use that date. But when the damage happened, like a month ago, there was a really bad storm, but you just didn't know about it until the date of discovery, and they use the date of discovery versus the date of loss, then there's no substantial wind evidence, and they'll say, hey, there's no wind. This has to be wear and tear. This has to be mechanical defect. There has to be these other things that are not covered. Yes, exactly. So we use a couple different websites. We also hire forensic meteorologists. That's kind of a tongue twister. Forensic meteorologists, which basically they're weather experts, and they're typically hired by the National Association of Weather and these different groups and conglomerates. So they have weight behind their name. We also get engineers involved that substantiate the fact that this is in fact wind damage and not something else. So then it becomes, okay, you hire an engineer, and when we get engineers involved, most of the time they can wait to be paid, which is phenomenal. Otherwise, you have to pay them up front. But when you hire us, we can work that out in a good way. So, but engineers, basically, ones that work for the public, that I'll put it this way: engineers that don't work for the insurance companies tend to acknowledge wind damage more so than an engineer that works for the insurance company. So hiring an engineer that says, okay, this is wind damage and it's not whatever you guys are claiming it to be, then you just have to find the storm date. And hopefully there's a storm date that would substantiate that damage. And getting that storm data, we have technology, we subscribe to different platforms, we have weather meteorologists or forensic meteorologists, we have engineers. All these things work together in contingency to say, look, this is what happened, when it happened, and this is how it was damaged, and this isn't anything else besides wind or impact. So it takes a lot of work from multiple people, and the public adjuster is more or less a quarterback, understanding how to utilize the experts, who the experts are, and just think of a public adjuster as the quarterback of making sure we're presenting everything and we're using everybody as a team. Quarterback team. I like this where this theme's going here. So we're the quarterback. We've got the team. We're going to drive it home. We're going to the Super Bowl. We're going to win. Yeah. So it's just I like the fact that I wasn't expecting this, that we honed in on bringing us in on the beginning. That if the data loss, data discovery, the fact that we were discussing pre-storm agreement, the verbiage to use, when filing the claim, denials, underpayment, still get us in. Trust Public Adjusting Group offers free home inspections, free policy reviews. We don't charge anything for these things. And even when you do hire us to help you file these claims, if we don't succeed, you owe us nothing. Even if we front the money, even if we hire experts, we eat it if we can't get you any money. So to me, it's something that I would utilize if I were a property owner, commercial or residential. I would hire a public adjuster right off the top, making sure that you're using the right words when you're filing the claim, to make sure the insurance companies are doing the right things in a timely manner that they're supposed to be doing in that frame, to make sure that the right date of loss is being used versus the date of discovery. All these things are vital to expedite the initial payment and to make the initial payment as high as possible. And remember, we don't get paid until you do.